Hello there and welcome back to another review. So when you think of Ronny Yu, the filmmaker, to people in the West, Ronny Yu is probably most famous directing films such as Bride of Chucky and Freddy vs. Jason. So he's usually sort of lumbered in with that sort of horror genre in regards to his Western films. And he also done a film in the 90s that I always remember. I don't know if any of you out there remember it as well, but Warriors of Virtue. Let me know if any of you remember that movie. But today we're going to be looking at one of his classic Hong Kong efforts, and that is The Bride with White Hair. Now, I absolutely love this movie. I think it's a great film. I think I think everything about this movie, from the performances to the set design, just the production values, everything just really does work well with this film. And made back in 1993 and starring the very talented Leslie Cheung and the very beautiful Brigitte Lin. And it's such a shame that Eureka couldn't put in Bride with White Hair 2 in this. It would have been wonderful to have a double pack with both films present here. I mean, you can't have everything. It's just me being nitpicky. But it would have been nice to have like the double set of Bride with White Hair and Bride with White Hair 2. I know, Ronny, you didn't direct the second one, but it would still been nice to have had them both together. The whole movie is sort of like a Romeo and Juliet, wuxia, sword play, love story, kung fu fantasy, all wrapped up in a nice, solid 90-minute time frame. And it just is a fantastic movie, and I'm going to be getting into it today a little bit as to why that is. The film has sadness, emotion. Above all else, it's filmed and shot beautifully. I cannot stress enough how beautiful this film looks. It really, let's say visually, everything about the movie, it really is, it's almost jaw-dropping as well. Every set, background, character just breathes life to the scene they are in. The colour palette used in this movie is nothing short of breathtaking, and this was a film I enjoyed a hell of a lot more the second time. I watched it the first time, enjoyed it, and then it was like, actually, I want to watch that again. I watched it again, and I absolutely loved it. I've seen this film back in the day, and it was, you know, when sometimes films have that, you know, when you watch a film, you're not that struck with it at first. You think, yeah, it was okay, and then suddenly, for whatever reason, it gets in your head, and you think, oh, actually, I will watch that again, or you think, I must watch that again. That was actually quite good. And this was one of them films where I watched it, thought it was great, and then I was like, I really want to watch that again. And then watching it again, I absolutely just fell in love with it. So obviously made back in when you talk about the year 1993, this was obviously riding high on that sort of new wave of like sort of kung fu movies that were happening at the time, largely thanks to Tsui Hark's Once Upon a Time in China, with that rekindled interest in like traditional kung fu movies and swordplay. And it was always known as sort of like the new wave movement of kung fu. What you have to remember, that so many movies that were made around that time in Hong Kong, you'll be hard pressed to find that any that have as beautiful cinematography as this film does. This film really does look absolutely wonderful. I just can't stress that enough. The costume designer for this movie, I think Wada Imi, had won an Oscar for her work on Akira Kurosawa's Ran, suggesting that, you know, Ronny Yu was not messing about here. He knew the film he wanted to make. He wanted to get people on board that he could trust with this film, and, you know, he was right for doing that. So what I love about it too is that it's not too long. It's not too long. Ronny Yu wraps it up, and like I mentioned, in a nice 90-minute bundle. And you know, like films nowadays, for whatever reason, so many filmmakers think a long film is a good film, and that is, you know, that's not necessarily so. You know, I don't want to sit through 2.5. Some films like nowadays, they're like 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and sometimes I just want a film that's just 80 to 100 minutes long. I can tune in, watch the movie, be entertained, and then go on with my day, you know. And this film, like I say, doesn't drag it out, the film squeezes so much into that 90 minutes, from swordplay, fantasy, love, comedy, loss, kung fu. It's all there, and it's just entertaining from the first frame until the last. I believe it was Philip Kwok here of the Venom Mob who had handled like most of the fight choreography here, and plus also the film is so straightforward. I mean, it's not what I mean is, it's not that it's predictable, but it's straightforward in what happens in the plot and the narrative of the movie. And it's worth noting as well that Leslie Cheung was never a martial arts guy. He often avoided doing kung fu roles or roles that involved sort of martial arts type guys, but Ronny Yu was determined to have him in this movie, and you know, and without doubt, his absolutely amazing performance here from Leslie Cheung. So we learn that an emperor is ill and there is this flower that can save him, guided by Senior Cho, played by Leslie Cheung. He won't let these guys have it and kills them, and straight away you will be taken in by the set design with the snow and the look, etc. And for some reason, I don't know why, but just the way the film looks and just the colours used and things like that, it always strikes me as like a sort of a Christmas movie. There's no mention of Christmas in it at all, of course there isn't, but it's one of them films where I think I could easily watch that on like Christmas Eve or something, or like over the Christmas period. It's just got that kind of light. It just reminds me, for whatever reason, of Christmas. So we find out he has waited 10 years for this woman on this perch guarding this flower. See Hang as a young boy being trained in swordplay with his master. The music in this film really works too. And I can't stress enough just the look of the movie. I know that's something I keep bringing up, and I probably will continue to do so through this review, but the look and the way the film it just is shot, and like I said, the colour palette really does pop. It really does look incredible. So as a young boy, he gets ambushed by wolves after saving this land from being slaughtered and gets saved by this mysterious girl. As I say, you have fantasy, swordplay, love story, kung fu, and above all else, with all them things, Ronny Yu keeps the balance of each one of them just right. He doesn't do too much of one or too much of the other. The whole balance of every one of them things is just perfect. So Ehang spends time with Eddy Ko's guard, who gets drunk with. Ehang is sort of the chieftain's successor to his clan. He's a bit of a tearaway, always misbehaving, being cheeky, and we cut forward to him growing up, and it's Leslie Cheung and Wu Dang is their clan, and he was always smiling, and he's just like a carefree student who doesn't always follow the rules, but at the same time he wants to uphold, the idea of justice and do things the right way, but even though he may not always agree with sort of what his clan wants to do or the way they're going to go about it. So whilst being punished in the Great Hall for beating up others, his friends come to speak to him and bring him food. The other camp gets ambushed. This other camp gets ambushed after stealing some like army provisions. We get spears through chests, decapitations, attempted sexual assault. So the film is quite brutal in places. It's it is an 18. Here in the UK, but it doesn't hold back so on some of the violence, but it's very quick fire, rapid editing. It's not like it's some of the deaths in this film, it's not subtle. As I say, it's quite brutal in places. There is wire work in the movie, but it's not as mad and bonkers as something like, say, Yuen Woo-ping would do with, say, something like Iron Monkey or Once Upon a Time in China 2. Yuen Woo-ping would have just gone crazy with it, but here they do sort of keep it sort of somewhat restricted. Like I say, there is wire work, but it's not like super crazy wire work, but not to the point where it's just off the wall insane. The White Witch turns up, played by Brigitte Lin, and just whips the enemy all in half, and she helps this woman who was given childbirth, but the mum dies. Ehang just so happens to be there too, minding his own business. I'm not quite sure why he is there and why he's in the middle of the nowhere. Maybe he just wanted a break from his clan or just some time alone. I don't know. Don't know what he's doing there, but it's all good. It doesn't really matter. So after this, he watches the witch sort of like frolicking in the water, and he's absolutely captivated by it, right? He's absolutely besotted with her. He's smitten. He's in love at first sight, basically. He can't get enough of her. Leslie Cheung in this movie is, like I say, he's perfect. He really does carry the film. Him and Brigitte Lin work incredibly well together. They got a nice little chemistry going on. He's like this lovable cocky road, and seeing a woman who is totally smitten for, as I mentioned. So at Bridget's camp, we meet the cleric of the divine, and she is like the main guardian of like this demon cult, and their plan is to sort of take out the 8 great sects of the central plane. Their leader are like a brother and sister who are conjoined twins named Chi Will Shang, and one of them being Francis Un, who you may remember from my Full Alert review. He was in that as well. Bridget is tasked with killing Leslie Cheung, and at the same time his clan want to lead the troops to defeat the demon cult. So she's been tasked with killing him. He's been tasked with sort of leading his clan sort of on the demon cult. So, like I say, it is relatively simple. She's with that group, he's with that group. They don't like each other, but they've sort of fallen each other. So, by that, when I say it's simple, it is actually quite a simple movie. Very straightforward, but it doesn't impede the film in any way whatsoever. So one of the chiefs wants his daughter, Lu Hua, to lead the troops, and she is mad at Ehang for giving away this jade that she made for him. Ehang doesn't want to be in charge or lead, as he knows he will have to do things that he doesn't want to do. Like, he's willing to help, but like I say, there's certain things he will not do, and like just because of his moral code, he doesn't want to do it. His idea is that he can always retire and goes to see Eddie Co's soldier character and comes back very drunk. His whole point being that when he returns is that why do we have to kill those we have no grievances with? That's what he's trying to get at. It's like, you know, what they got no problem, we have no problem with them. Why have we got to do anything? He lets Lu Hua take the lead, who is like his martial sister. So the demon cult raid their camp, and I love Cho subduing the soldiers with like a blade of grass in slow motion, which is quite cool. Brigitte turns up and she's like, I must kill you. She hesitates and gets shot with an arrow. Cho escapes with her and saves her by sucking the poison out. His clan, meanwhile, thinks he has turned traitor and turned his back on them. So the male, Chi Wushang, wants Brigitte and pines for her, of the conjoined twins. He's sort of got a thing for her, and he's like, doesn't want her to be with anybody else because he is sort of in love with her too. And we get a flashback too of the twins getting banished from the Central Plains for practicing witchcrafts. And I love how Ronny Yu doesn't reveal right away that they are conjoined twins, because the way he shoots it and the way he frames it, it's shot from certain angles that you don't actually know they're conjoined twins. And it's only when we later on, like, well, after a while, that we do get the full reveal. And you know, well, I think they're sort of laying in bed at the time, but we get the full reveal that they are joined together. So after learning that they know each other, excuse me, after she saved him from the wolves, that they're sort of like passionate together and fall for each other, like it was fate. They've known each other since they were young. It was meant to be. It was destined. It was written in the stars. That kind of thing. And the film just screams, like I mentioned, that Romeo and Juliet vibe throughout, but it doesn't sort of rely on it too heavily. But I think the whole idea what they were going for with this was a Romeo and Juliet sort of kung fu type of romantic film. And I think that's it, like I say, every bit its intention. We learn that she has no name as she was raised by wolves and then taken in by the demon cult. She asks him, like, will you always trust me and love me even when I'm old and my hair turns white? She wants to leave the demon cult and will do whatever it takes to leave. The male Shi Wushang is furious with her as she has given her heart to another. As I say, he's sort of all loved up on her himself as well. He has a thing for her as well. Leslie Cheung gave her a name, Len Chang, and made her feel worthy and valuable because she didn't even have a name. And Leslie Cheung's character does give her a name, like to show how important she is to him. So she is allowed to leave the demon cult, but like has to like walk over hot coals, spikes, all the while being beaten by the various followers. So Cho goes back to tell the chieftain that he'll be resigning. She's tried to leave. She's left the cult. They basically, the whole idea is they want to start fresh. They want to start a life together. They've admitted they fall for each other. He's gone to like, I'm out. She's basically said, I'm out. You know, and they're gonna just, you know, hopefully make a go of it together. So he goes back and says he'll be resigning from his post, and he finds his chieftain's head severed. I mean, obviously in shock and grief, and the places and his head. While he is shocked and just finding his chieftain there, he places like his head next to his body. One of the survivors, said it was the wolf girl that did it. So like straight away now he's getting, you know, was I really taken for a fool? She turns up and Leslie now thinks that she has betrayed him, right? I will say, like, though, whenever there is a fight, the camera and the way it's shot, Ronny Yu goes into like this blurry type of slow motion. I'm not sure what the technique is called, but it's something that Ronny Yu doesn't do it just once. He does it on like quite a lot of the fight scenes. Sammo Hung used it on a lot of his latter films. He did use it, I think if I recall, he used it quite substantially in The Bodyguard. If any of you've seen the 2016 Bodyguard movie from Sammo, there's a couple of films where he uses this sort of, it's like a blurry type of technique, and it's not bad, but it's almost, in this film it's used quite a lot sometimes. But again, I think that was just the look that Ronny Yu was going for. But it's this technique, and it's used quite substantially. So as soon as she arrives, Cho says to her, "Did you do this? Right? Did you kill these people? Because like I need to know." And she says, that is not my concern, right? So she's already annoyed. She's like, are you coming with me or not? Like, are we still doing this? Are you coming with me? Are we going to do this? His clan attack her and she gets stabbed, and she is in like a red gown, though. For some reason, when she left the demon cult, she was in a white gown. Doesn't really matter, but she's got like different clothes on. Her hair turns white, and she kills like his martial sister, massacres them all. And also worth mentioning that she can now use her hair as like a weapon as well. And she is massively PO'd at this point. Like, she is hugely hugely PO'd. She is absolutely fuming. That he didn't trust her. Cheung appears and pretends to be his dead master at first. Cho cuts through their backs, separating the chin like the twins with loads of blood flying everywhere. Lenny Chang, like Brigitte Lin's character, leaves, and again the lighting on cannot stress enough is just amazing, because it was actually Cheung who actually killed them. It wasn't Brigitte Lin. She is absolutely fuming. Like, you promised me you would trust me. He didn't trust her. He questions her. After killing the twins of the leader of the demon cult, she just leaves. But when he cuts them, there's blood flying everywhere, and as I say, the film is quite violent in places. Again, the lighting, I cannot stress enough, is just amazing, and like I say, the sets are absolutely beautiful. The clothes, the characters' work, everything about this film visually is just it's incredible. And we get great performances here from Leslie and Brigitte doing amazing stuff. Then we see Cho at the end of the movie waiting by the flowers where the film started, and this film is even more powerful, I think, for denying that happy ending. We do not get the happy ending here, and it would have been quite easy to round it off with these two going off into the sunset, but Ronny Yu doesn't do that. He keeps it's amazing visuals, and as I say, you could have had them living happily ever after together, but this wasn't the type of film he was trying to make. So, like I mentioned, amazing visuals, a simple and poignant story, wonderful performances from Leslie Cheung and Brigitte Lin. It's almost like in a way like a less mad Zoo Warriors from the Magic Mountain. In a way, it's almost it's like Zoo, bit like I mentioned, less mad, but with a love story thrown in, if that makes sense. It is a bit crazy in places, but it's not like Point of Zoo where it's hard to even keep up with what's going on. This film is very much straightforward, and it's like I say, for 90 minutes, it's just you get everything in it, and it's just like you can't stress enough as well how good Ronny Yu's direction is in this movie. Like I said, most notably he's famous in the West for doing, like I say, Freddy vs. Jason and one of the Chucky movies, but like I say, if you want to check out some like an awesome Ronny Yu vehicle with, like I say, great performances and visuals, then make sure to go and check out Bride with White Hair. But as I say, shame they couldn't have put 2 here with it as well. It'd have been great to have had it on a double pack, but again, you can't have everything, can you? Such is the way of the world. But I will review Bride with White Hair too, because that's quite good as well. But absolutely love this movie, so go and check it out if you've never seen it. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review. See you soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.